Okay, today we're going to dissect an M&A deal that has become a legendary cautionary tale. This isn't just about a bad acquisition, it's a genuine masterclass in corporate deception. And look, if you're a deal maker, this is a story you absolutely have to know inside and out.
So let's just start with a number. A number that should make any M&A professional stop dead in their tracks. $8.8 billion.
That's right. That is how much shareholder value was completely incinerated. We're talking one of the largest, fastest destructions of value in modern M&A history. So the question is, how on earth did this happen? Let's dig in. We are going to go forensic on this. First, we'll peel back the layers on how Autonomy cooked its books, not once, but twice. Then we'll zero in on the blind spots in HP's due diligence that let this all slip through. And finally, we're going to forge all these painful lessons into a concrete playbook to protect your next deal.
You know, the central question here is actually pretty simple, but it is staggering. How could a deal of this size, by a tech giant like Hewlett-Packard, go so catastrophically wrong, so unbelievably fast? Well, spoiler alert, the answer is buried deep, deep in the accounting. The UK High Court's judgment on this case, it seriously reads like a financial thriller. It uncovers all these layers of deception, but the first critical piece of the fraud, well, it lies in a pretty classic accounting trick, the round-trip deal. At its core, this whole thing is a mechanism to turn your own cash into revenue on the books. Think about it. You go to a customer, you give them money by buying their services, and then they turn around and use that very same money to buy your software. It is a completely closed loop designed to do just one thing, pump up that top line. And the court's finding on this was just crystal clear. What's really interesting here, for anyone in this field, is that this quote effectively establishes the legal test for spotting these things. If one side of a deal makes absolutely no commercial sense on its own, you have to treat them as a single transaction. So here's exactly how they pulled it off in practice with a reseller called Capex. Autonomy created this covert loop of money. And the linchpin, the thing that made it all work, an oral, completely undocumented side deal. Just a secret promise to fund Capex's purchase, which guaranteed that Autonomy's cash came right back to them, effectively laundered into what looked like pure high-margin software revenue. Okay, let's move on to the second key deception, because you have to see how this all builds. This wasn't just about creating fake revenue out of thin air. It was about misrepresenting the quality of that revenue to make the company look way more valuable than it really was. You know, every software deal maker knows the magic words, recurring revenue. That's the holy grail. And Autonomy sold its idle OEM business as exactly that, a predictable, high-margin, super sticky revenue stream. And that story, that was the narrative that justified a massive premium valuation to investors and, of course, ultimately to HP. But behind that really compelling story, the court's forensic accounting revealed a starkly different picture. The story and the reality, they were literally worlds apart. I mean, just look at this breakdown. It's unbelievable. What they presented as a $132 million business, that's 15% of the company and growing at over 30% a year, was, in reality, a business doing less than $23 million. It was barely 3% of the total, and it was actually in steep decline. This wasn't a rounding error. This was a complete fabrication. So this is the crucial question, right? The red flags, they were there, hidden in the data. With billions of dollars on the line, with an army of advisors, how did Hewlett-Packard's massive due diligence effort not find them? How is this missed? Well, the diligence process just plain broke down at multiple points. The team took management's story at face value. They got caught up in deal fever and confirmation bias. They failed to ask for crucial documents like the auditor's own work papers, which, looking back, could have been the smoking gun. And critically, when market analysts were already raising public alarms about Autonomy's accounting, those warnings were tragically ignored. And this is exactly the kind of catastrophic blind spot that a robust, independent review is designed to prevent. When the stakes are this high, getting an outside perspective isn't a luxury, it is absolutely essential. Services from experts like Vaya Stangaturti over at services.corpdev.org provide that critical layer of forensic scrutiny. They protect shareholder value by challenging every single assumption before you close the deal. You should really think of it as an investment in certainty. So, after years and years of litigation, what was the final verdict? And maybe more importantly for us, how can we distill this whole cautionary tale into actionable intelligence you can apply to your very next deal?
The verdict was a clear win for HP. The court found that Autonomy's management had, in fact, deliberately and dishonestly inflated its value. But here's the thing. While HP won the legal battle, the real lessons are for the entire M&A community, for all of us. So here are 5 directives from this case that should be embedded in every single M&A playbook. First, treat those large quarter-end reseller deals with extreme skepticism. Always ask, what is the real commercial logic here? Demand the raw data, not just management's pretty labels for it. And this is critical. Go beyond the curated data room. Explicitly ask for the auditor's working papers. And finally, if you see cash flowing both ways with a single partner, you have to map it meticulously. This is how you truly understand the quality of the business you're buying.
You know, the ultimate lesson from this whole autonomy saga is just the profound danger of accepting things at face value. So as you head into your next deal, I'll leave you with one question to think about. What's the one accepted truth you're now going to challenge?